Hello, it's Randy Duck and welcome back for another video. Today we have two replays provided to us by the one and only Petty360. Yes, we're fortunate enough for Petty to provide us two replays in the Tier 9 British Premium Medium Tank, the Cobra. And they are two fantastic replays. So I'm very excited to show these to you today. So the Tier 9 British Premium Medium Tank, the Cobra, if you've never played it before, what it's a 4-shot auto loader, and it's unique in the sense that it's got 2 rounds. The first round, as you can see, we've not loaded, Petty's not loaded any of them, is the heat rounds, where you have 360 alpha per shot with 268 penetration, and you do have a lightning interclip reload on this clip, so you get your shots away very quickly in this tank. But the bread and butter for this tank, the unique selling point for the Cobra, is the HESH rounds on the premium rounds. You've got 210 penetration for your premium HESH rounds, but you then have 490 alpha. That means you have an over sort of close to a 2,000 damage clip potential if you manage to pen all 4 shots, and you can get that clip across incredibly quickly, and you can get a lot of damage in a very quick space of time. The downside to the Cobra, though, is it has a very long reload. You've got like an almost 40-second reload, and that makes this tank, for me, it's very hit and miss. It can either be really, really fun to play because you're getting, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you've just done 2,000 damage because you've got that crazy clip potential. But other games, the games can go a bit too quickly. You're caught on that long reload. Your clip doesn't come off how you want to. You missed a few shots, and it can be painful. So basically, for me, it's a very hit and miss. Some days I love this tank. Other days it's incredibly painful to play. But these two replays are fantastic, and it shows what can happen in this tank. So he's on Sand River here, and it's got a bit of a peculiar sort of game. You can see the friendly team's won the north side, and the enemy team have just pushed straight through the middle, allowing Petty to use this middle ridge location. And you can see this is where the Cobra comes to the end. 2 absolutely deadly clips, kills a tank there, and just does over 2,000 damage in one clip, getting a fortunate fire as well. And yeah, in this blink of an eye, you've done that damage. That's the thing about this tank. Sometimes you could be having like an okay game, and all of a sudden you just get 2,000 damage out of nowhere. If you're able to pen those HESH pens, if you avoid the space armor, hit the right spots, it can be really, really good. So the game's sort of fairly even at the moment, but I feel like Petty's team has got the real map control, I think, over the team. They're pushing around the base now, and that just gives Petty the freedom to play this ridge, which is obviously very good because he can just get shots into multiple of angles. Enemy artillery is pushing. The dream target gets that shot in, picks up the kill, trying to get some shots there into this enemy medium crossing. Unfortunately, doesn't. I think he lands one, but wasn't able to get that shot in. But then he's able to pull back to safety, and now this is a sort of bit where you've got to sit there and wait. The tank does have 10 degrees of gun depression, so you can play those ridge lines very well, and it's got decent mobility as well. As far as armour, it doesn't really have a lot of armour, except from when you're using that 10 degrees of gun depression, you can get the odd troll bounce in your turret for the scream angles. But at most part, I definitely wouldn't rely on bouncing shots. It's definitely more of that assassin and waiting for to get that clip in. So you can see he's almost off reload now. There is an enemy heavy tank crossing. He gets a lovely shot in there, rolling high. Second shot doesn't penetrate. Third shot, unfortunately, gets absorbed in the shot. But the fourth shot finishes him off, picking up his third kill, putting him on to 4,000 damage, and still a very even game at 6 versus 5. But now we're just waiting on that long reload, just hoping the damage is still there, so when he comes off reload, he can get that clip in. You can see there's 2 tanks quite close by, in close proximity. There's probably some tanks covering these tanks in the back ridge lines, and he's just waiting now with 12 seconds left on the reload. This is where it feels painful when you're just waiting for that reload, or just to come in. But he's almost off that reload now, and then he's looking to try and get some damage maybe in this heavy tank in the bowl, but also got to be careful any tanks which could potentially be covering him. spots an enemy Udes, looking for a shot and squeeze one in, rolling for 470. Gets a second shot in, putting him onto half health, penning the third shot, and unfortunately the final shot just doesn't pen, and he only splashes him for 100. But again, you know, he's just done what, sort of 1800 damage there in a blink of an eye, putting him onto 5500 damage now and 1000 assistance, and still has the majority of his hit points left. So that's obviously very handy late game. You know, you can just sit in front of someone and trade those shots out, knowing that you've got the hit points to spare. But this game is still very much in the balance, 5 versus 4. His friendly team is sort of taking control of, you know, the enemy base location. You know, Petty's in a good situation where he can get back to defend the base if he needs to, so he doesn't have to worry about that. He's just looking to try and find some more damage where he can. So 2 of the tanks, they know where they're located. One of the enemy heavy tanks gets destroyed, and he's now going to come behind this T28 and pick up a 4th kill, put on to 6200 damage with only 2 tanks remaining. One of which you can see there is a one-shot. So it goes on the reload, and it's just about trying to hunt these tanks down now and see if we can just pick up the last bit of damage out of this game, because you can see he's had a fantastic game here. You know, 6200 damage, 4 kills, 1000 assistance, over 7000 combined. But there's still 2 tanks. One doesn't have a lot of hit points. The other tank, you know, I don't know how much hit points this tank has at the moment, but he's going to try and chase him down. It's a medium tank just on his left, and hopefully he can get there to pick up a little bit more damage out of this game. You can see that the enemy medium tank is probably trying to chase down the artillery. Can you blame him? But yeah, hopefully he can try and catch this tank out if he is lucky. So he does spot the enemy medium. He tries to get one in. It gets a lovely shot in there. Gets a second shot in there. Unfortunately misses the third shot, but he does pick up another 1000 damage, putting him on to 7000 damage now with 1000 assistance, leaving both tanks pretty much on a one-shot to him now. One's a definite one-shot, and it's just trying, can he find these tanks? Can he chase them down and just get that last bit of damage, last bit of kills out of this game? The friendly team are now applying cap pressure. Looks like the friendly artillery is also going to do so. So hopefully they don't cap out before he's able to find them. You know, I think that enemy TVP is got to be up in this north location. That's the tank with the most hit points. So he's going to try and chase that tank down and just bring this game, you know, finish off what has been a fantastic game. And believe it or not, it gets even better in the second replay. So yeah, very, very, you know, thankful Petty to providing these replays for us today. So only 23 seconds left on the clock, and it's looking like one of those situations at the moment where, you know, the friendly team are going to cap out, where you don't really want to. When you're having such a good game like this, you really want to just get as much out of this as possible. You don't really want to cap out, but it is what it is, and unfortunately it does look like that is going to be the case, and they do in fact cap out, so he wasn't able to pick up that last bit of damage, which is a shame, but it does have a fantastic game. So let's just see how he got on before we move on to the second replay. 4 kills, 7000 damage, 1000 assistance, of course the ace tanker and the high caliber. But let's move on to the final replay of this video. Okay, so we made it to replay number 2, this time on Overlord, and there is one enemy light tank in the game, no enemy fun police, and it is tier 9 matchmaking. He's platooned up with Seb, who's a fantastic person, and yeah, so let's just see how we get on. So no artillery on Overlord is nice, because it means you can go and use your gun depression around the bowl area and not have to worry about getting shot down from the sky. I mean, I guess it's nice not to have artillery in any map when you're not in the artillery. So he's going to try and push across to sort of 8-9 line at the start, just see what he spots. You know, a lot of his team have gone this way, which is unusual actually, because quite often when you play Overlord, the first thing you're thinking is, please team, don't all push down the down the beach. But that hasn't happened, and straight away he's got himself into a position where he can have a bit of a fight, which is always good. Gets a nice shot into the enemy Sturv there, picking up 640 damage, 1 penetration and 1 splash. Dumps the rest of his shot because he knows he wants to go on reload. And yeah, not a bad start to the game. Picked up a little bit of damage. Now you've got the long reload here to wait. But there is quite a lot of damage potential in front of them, which is always good. And you have his support of the friendly team again, which is always nice. So you know you're not left here by yourself. So with about 14 seconds left on the reload, it's just getting a little bit closer, so when his clip is reloaded, he's able to try and get the damage in. Got to be careful though, because there's quite a few tanks which have a bit of a crossfire angle, which is not, far from ideal. Looks to try and get one in the atomic, doesn't really have a clear shot, but he can pen the lower plate here of the Ferdinand. Gets one shot in, which tracks him in place. Unfortunately, the second shot gets a little bit unlucky, and then his repair clip comes in just at the wrong amount of time. So not an ideal clip there, and unfortunately did lose a fair bit of hit points, but he's still well in the game. Gets into a safer location, gets his reload off again. Still has enough support with him to continue this fight. So at the moment, even Stevens on the game, 15 versus 13. They started to take a little bit of the lead. And looking at the map, I think they started to take a little bit of map control as well, with his tanks pushing down the sort of the free line there. So 10 seconds left on the reload. His friendly platoon mate in the T95 is coming in to sort of take away a bit of a deflection there, and then he can try and get some shots into this Udez. Puts two lovely shots in and then finishes them off with the third, and all of a sudden he's on 2,500 damage and 2 kills now, finishing off that Ferdinand in quick procession there. And now he's looking at having a very decent game. 3,000 damage, 2 kills, a little bit of track assistance. The team have started to take control. You can see he clearly wants to get into the bowl here, which is a good situation to be in, because looking at the mini map here on the right hand side, looking at the enemy team position, if they take the bowl, he can try and get shots at multiple of angles and try and use his gun depression to see if he can get some more clip in. And he does have friendly support in the bowl as well, to help him if the enemy tanks do come and try and full rush him. Because one of the problems with the Cobra is obviously you dump your clip, and if the enemy team's sort of watching and they know you're on that reload for 40 seconds, they can try and take you out in that time. Gets one shot in, tries to get a second one in atomic. Unfortunately, he doesn't pen. It was a sort of 50-50 chance there through that turret. But then he gets an opportunity to shoot this enemy Sturv. And the last shot in goes straight through the lower plate, penning and setting them on fire, which is a nice thing about the HESH shells. Obviously, if you do penetrate it, being an explosive shell, you have a good chance of setting tanks on fire and damaging their crew. So now on 4,000 damage, 3 kills, and they are winning this game at this stage. 11 versus 9. They have a lot of the control, but this game does go down to the wire in the end, and it gets a lot closer. So 10 seconds left on the reload. You can see him just checking the hit points of tanks and just working out where's the next bit of damage going to come from. He's hoping to try and finish off these tanks on the left, just to deal with one angle, and then he can try and deal with these tanks on the right. But the enemy tanks are pushing quite close on the right, and he needs to now try and deal with that situation. So he's moving up a little bit, but he's seen an opportunity maybe to try and finish off this enemy medium tank crossing. Unfortunately, the first shot doesn't go true, but the second one does. Picking up a 4th kill and 4,300 damage now, and the game is a lot closer at 8 versus 8. He's going to try and see if he can squeeze in a shot to the cupola of the KV4. He can pen it if he hits the right spot. It's not guaranteed. Unfortunately, it doesn't work out for him, but he's now on a reload here. It does have support, like I say, this one medium tank in the bowl with him. But there's a lot of tanks out here, and I guess at this point he's just wanting that reload to come off, because there's a lot of tanks he's hoping that they're not going to just full send over. He's got a little bit of support from his T95 on the back in the distance there. If they try and overpeak, maybe they can get shots in. And he does have 2 tanks with him in the bowl. Not sure what this KV4 is doing coming in there. He does pick up a kill, but if Petty gets this reload off, he's just going to be able to blitz this tank down in a second. And that's exactly what's happened. Gets 1 shot in, 2 shots in, 3 shots in, picks up the kill. Picks up the 5th kill, bringing him 5,000 odd damage. Unfortunately, doesn't get that shot in to the enemy medium, and now he's got to get out of there. He looks like he's going to go and try and get the ram on that enemy light tank. It's unfortunate to get tracked there, otherwise he probably would have rammed him and picked up an additional kill. But he is at least able to get safe with only 410 hit points left, and now we are in a 5 versus 5 situation. But looking on 5 kills, 5,500 damage. There's a lot of damage left in this game if he's able to get that, get it out there. Unfortunately, he is quite low hit points, but like I say, this tank, you can deal that damage so quickly because of that quick interclip. So he's going to try and finish off this enemy Atomic here. Gets 2 shots in. Can he finish him off with a third? He does, picking up his 6th kill, put him to 6,300 damage now, and back into a 4 versus 4. 1 shell left in the clip. Charioteer drives off of the cliff, putting it into a 4 versus 3. Going to try and finish off that last shell with a pen. It does, putting them onto 6,700 damage, and now on that big long reload. Trying to get safe because there's a medium tank pushed around on the right, so he needs to just keep an eye on that. You can see he's just checking the angle to see if any shots into him, because it's a very close, tight game now. 3 versus 3, doesn't have a lot of hit points left, and he's going to see if he can try and catch out that medium tank which is pushed across. Pushing across wise on a reload. Hopefully the time he gets there, if the enemy medium tank's there, you know, he can reload. He can eat 1 shell off of it, and that's probably enough to try and dump his whole clip if he gets fortunate enough and they all go in. Like I say, this tank is very hit and miss. Sometimes you have amazing games, sometimes it's like, you know, you're pulling your hair out waiting for that reload to come off. So going to try and, you know, unfortunately that medium tank, it looks like it's escaped. He has moved down across. It's going to try and chase him down. Go back into the bowl. As he pokes in the bowl, we spot an enemy autoloader here. Can he get the 2nd shot in? He does. A lovely shot into the T69. Picking up the 7th kill now and putting him onto 7,400 damage, and now on a 3 versus 2. So I think the enemy sort of Centurion, I think, or Atomic, I can't remember exactly what version it is a 2-shot to him. So he's kept the 2 shells in, hoping that he's over this side of the ridge, and if he can try and pick him up, he's on for a Radley's here, maybe even a 9th kill if he's really lucky. With a lot more potential damage left in this game. So at this point, it looks like the enemy medium tank there has run, the enemy Centurion, but I'm not too sure where he's gone. He's going to try and over poke here and see if he can proxy. Of risky coming down like that. If I do something like that, I probably will go a bit too quickly and end up killing myself because of my driving. But I learnt that off of Petty. But thankfully he did slow down and he managed to get out there and still be alive, because that would have been very, very gutting if he fell off the cliff at that stage. But I'm not too sure where this medium tank has gone, to be honest with you. He's got 2 friendly tanks, his platoon mate and his TD near the base. So if they go back to defend the base, they're there. They could apply cap pressure, try and bring the tanks out. But he's just trying to chase him down. And this is, to be honest with you, I would have thought he'd probably gone this way. But it's just trying to find him at this stage. I mean, it's just always frustrating. So I guess he's thinking that maybe he's probably either gone into the beach there, or maybe he's gone back to try and cap out, which might be the play the enemy team has done. So it's always that awkward situation of when you go and reload, especially when you've got a tank like this with 40 seconds reload, because you probably want all 4 shells right now. Gives you a bit of freedom if you miss a shot or if you come across both of the tanks. Unfortunately, you don't know if you're going to come around the corner and then meet the tanks. It's like, oh, when do you go and reload? So I'm guessing that the enemy team has probably gone up to this north side of the map because he's still not found them. His friendly platoon mate has applied the cap pressure to try and draw them out, but then he does spot the enemy Victoria. That is a variant of the Centurion, and he does get spotted as well. Victoria's gone safe. He's going to try and close the distance now to see if he can kill this tank. Like I say, can kill them if both of the shots pen, or he gets 1 pen and the other one splashes. He can pick up the kill. Doesn't know where the other medium tank is at this point, so he's just going to try and close down the distance and see if he can pick up that 8th kill of the game. So as he is trying to approach him, he finds the other medium tank. Unfortunately, this is like the Unskinned Freedom, has a lot of space armour, so he's going to try and wait for him to come in. He can eat 1 shell, and then if he can get behind him, he can pick up the kill. So he eats that 1 shell, but he still has time to pick up the kill. Gets 1 shot in, should be able to get the finish, and unfortunately, the Victoria just comes around just at the wrong moment, which is heartbreaking because he would have got the Radleys there, but still, he's in a fantastic game. Now, spoiler alert, we do win, we cap out, but I'm going to skip ahead rather than sit you waiting on that countdown. So skip ahead and get to the scoreboard. Okay, so that's the end. Petty finished off with 7 kills, 8,000 damage, having a really good game. 2 great replays there. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you again for Petty for providing these replays for for me. If you don't already follow Petty, which I'm sure you already do, I've linked his channel. Please make sure you give him a sub because, yeah, fantastic chap and does fantastic videos. So all the best and happy tanking.
Enemy in sight. Hadouken!